So thanks everybody for being here and registering, and hopefully you didn't have any issues popping online. My name is Tony Hickok. I'm the current Evergreen Central president. We want to just start tonight's meeting by thanking you. Almost all of the attendees tonight are members of Central or other Evergreen members. We do have some folks who are joining us that we hope will become members as well. So first of all, thanks to the members. This is why we're doing it. It's for you guys. And then we also want to thank TRED. So some of us are here at the TRED office in downtown Wenatchee hosting this meeting. We've recently moved our monthly board meetings to the TRED office, thanks to that team for offering up their space on top of all the other things that they do for outdoor recreation in our community. We also want to take a moment to just say thanks to all of our partners on the land manager side. So we want to thank the Forest Service, Department of Fish and Wildlife, DNR, CDLT, City of Wenatchee, City of Iniat, City of Leavenworth. I hope I'm not leaving too many people out, City of East Wenatchee, and hopefully a lot of others as we move along. But obviously none of this is possible without amazing partnerships. We want to thank all the folks who've come before us at Evergreen here, but also at all those organizations to lay the groundwork so that we can be riding the trails that we have and that we can be working on the trails that we still seek to put out there. So again, my name's Tony. I'll be, unfortunately for you guys, the MC tonight, master of ceremonies for this thing, but want to start off by saying, what the intention of this is. And so it's really threefold. One, this year, we're really dedicated, the board and our most active volunteers is really dedicated in opening up greater communication with our members specifically, but also with our communities. And so tonight's kind of a first step to do that. And so we're reaching out to just put together a high level presentation. We're going to keep it pretty light and easy. We aren't going to, because of the time, be able to get into too much depth, but hopefully this initial meeting spurs a lot of conversations, a lot of questions, and then we will, very intentionally work towards better communication throughout the rest of this year and going forward. So that's the kind of the foundational reason for why we're here tonight. The other reason is I really want to introduce the board and some of our most active volunteers and some of our staff as well. After 2 years of not being able to meet in person, I know this is virtual too, but we feel a little bit disconnected from not just our communities, but our riding community and from our members. So want to put some names out there and some faces to those names so that as you guys meet each other on the trails and at work parties, that maybe there'll be a little recognition there. All right, and then the last piece of this is really just to let you know what we're up to this year specifically. We'll talk a bit about what we accomplished last year as well. This is not meant to be a history of Evergreen, history of Evergreen Central, but we're going to touch on a lot of little pieces. So without further ado, Heather, if we want to roll to the next slide. All right, so on that note, and talking about names and faces, we would love to see you. We encourage you to turn your cameras on if you want to. That way we can start putting some names and faces together as well. Make sure that you're on mute. There will be an opportunity for questions at the end, and we're going to spend a quarter of the meeting at least doing that. But until we get to that portion, definitely ask that you keep muted. But if you do have questions, we are going to be monitoring the chat. David maybe is going to be popping in there and trying to answer questions. And then we will also write down questions that come up for addressing at the end. Like I said, we'll do a presentation here for about the first 2/3, 3/4, and then we'll get to questions and answers at the end. When we do get to those questions and answers, just remember that a lot of these topics people are super passionate about, and we can all spend a lot of time talking about many of these, but keep it brief when we ask the questions. We'll try to answer it to the best of the ability and the time given, but like I said, hopefully that we're really spurring more conversations, and this is just the start. Next slide, please. Here's what we're going to do tonight. So we're getting through the welcome, thankfully. We're going to look at Evergreen as an organization overall. We're going to talk about Central specifically. We're going to hit a central financial overview, and then we're going to get into our committee reports. And so we'll touch on fundraising, education, membership, events, and trails. And then we'll also talk about how you can get involved as well. And so that's kind of what we're going to do. This mirrors a lot the way that we run our board meetings and touching on these different topics. So Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance, most of you out there are already members, and most of you are already central members. So again, thank you for that membership, that support, and for all of the work that you do with us. But in case you did not know, Evergreen is the second largest statewide mountain biking organization in the country. Used to be the first. An outfit in Vermont just passed us by a little bit, but we have 9,100 members across the state, and those are broken into 8 chapters. And we're obviously the central chapter, and so you can see the boundary lines of those other chapters as well. There are some trail deserts out there, but we are still at the state board level. We are still actively looking at opportunities. There are folks out there who are interested in potentially adding chapters. And so this organization is growing massively. Next slide. At the statewide level, here's the team on the administration side, starting with our executive director, Yvonne Krause. And you can see some of the other names. Patrick Walker is a central-based statewide member. And thank him for all the help that he does for not only statewide, but also at the central level. And then many of you will definitely recognize Alex Brieger's name on there. He, while not here locally anymore, still helps out quite a bit on the IT side of things. And then the other super important members of the team. This is our statewide paid trail crew. Green highlighted names are central-based trail folks. So as you can see, this was last year's team. As you can see at a statewide level, we have a large paid trail crew to help get all this work done. But at the end of the day, we still rely primarily on volunteer support to make all the things happen that we are able to accomplish each year. All right, we're going to touch on Evergreen Central here real quick. And, you know, Al, or you think we're going a good pace, not talking too fast?
We're going great.
All right, so definitely want to move through this so we can get to more questions and answers. So Evergreen Central, just like the rest of Evergreen, is a volunteer organization. We do have paid folks. We have, you know, a big paid team at the statewide level, but at the end of the day, nothing happens without volunteers. I want to take a moment to send out a special thanks to our central volunteers of the year. Every year, the entire organization nominates 2 folks from each chapter. And last year, Dave Donnell and Ian Woodford were identified as the central chapter volunteers of the year. Dave, over 500 hours of volunteer trail work, both trail construction and maintenance and events, and also on the state or on the central board. Dave is the workhorse. And Dave, we super appreciate everything that you do. You've been here longer than almost anybody, and you probably put in more hours than anybody, I would guarantee. We also want to thank Ian Woodford, Education, former vice president, fundraising committee, merchandise at the statewide level. Ian has put, especially in the last year, has put in just dozens and hundreds of hours of volunteer work across many different aspects of Evergreen and Evergreen Central. And we couldn't be here tonight really without Ian's help. So Ian, thank you. Hopefully you're listening in or that you'll see this on the recording.
My pleasure.
All right, and now the Evergreen Central board, you can see who we are. What we're going to do is we're going to go left to right, bottom or top to bottom, and we're going to have each board member pop on and introduce themselves. So you can stop listening to me for a second, but also want to put names to faces and voices. So again, I'm Tony Hickok, president currently. I'm entering my 2nd year as president, formerly vice president for 4 years. I originally started with Evergreen Central to help with social media. Al?
My name's Al Murphy. Right now, I'm the acting vice president and trail builder, and I thoroughly enjoy being out there working on trails and making more trails available for folks. So, that's it.
Hey, I'm Julie Ellington. I am treasurer. I got involved with Evergreen about 4 years ago, just after I moved to Wenatchee. And it's been an awesome outlet to get involved with the outdoors.
Awesome. Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather Wendeborn. I've been with Evergreen for about a year now. Just started as the board secretary in January. An instructor for kids camps and adult clinics and part of the fundraiser and education committees.
Thanks, Heather. James.
You're muted, James.
Hello, all. I needed some IT help here, obviously. I can't even figure out how to turn my camera on this new laptop. I'm James Munley. I'm a longtime board member and professional trail builder here in the Valley. And yeah, excited to see everybody here. This is a great turnout.
Awesome. Thanks, James. Dave.
Yeah, Dave Fidel, board member and trail builder. Kind of started with Evergreen when Matt Lyons and Matt Rose got this thing going. Primarily working with Matt Rose over the years, and enthusiast on the bike. But before I can ride, I got to have a trail. So I love doing the trails. And last year, Evergreen let me learn how to use the mini excavator, and Al Murphy showed me some tips, and I haven't killed myself on the thing yet, and I'm doing about 3 or 4 times faster than by hand. So yeah, great. Thank you.
Don't say yet, Dave. Don't say yet.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. Scott, I don't think is able to be here with us tonight because he was just with his son, Cole Patton. So Scott Patton is a longtime board member. He was down, his son Cole just won the Mid-South 100-mile gravel race here a couple of days ago. So very exciting. So Scott's on his way back from that, but we really appreciate all Scott's efforts, big time on Bike and Brew, but also just longtime board member. Mr. Mike Brawley. Not sure if Mike's on yet, but we'll get back to him if he pops on. David.
Board member for about 3 years, social media and trail builder.
Tony.
Hey everybody, Tony Feeney. I am a board member and I do the newsletter. Been volunteering for about 5 years now with Evergreen, and just this past year became a board member.
Thanks, Tony. And we'll wrap up with last but not least, Stephen.
Hi everyone, Stephen Laddish, and I joined the board just this last year. I'm also chair of the membership committee, and just, yep, real excited to be seeing everyone here, and excited to be involved.
Thanks so much, Stephen. All right, Heather, I'll throw the slides back up. All right, so that's the Evergreen Central Board of Directors, but it goes a lot bigger than that. Generally at our board meetings, which we hold monthly now on the 3rd Wednesday, and in person here at the TRED offices, there's a group that's about twice again as big as the board, that's there most every week and is every bit, if not more important, and in many cases more important than the board members. And so I want to take a moment just to talk about some of our paid staff. We're currently actively recruiting for a new project manager position, and we've been taking applications for that and look to be hiring a new project manager. So that's going to be a project manager that oversees all of the central projects. We've had somebody play that role to a certain degree, but fortunately we have so much going on. We need somebody to orchestrate the whole machine. You all met James. There he is again, and Mick. And thanks, Heather, for the awesome picture of me. Al, Travis Hornby, former president. Kate Bonnet is the education director. And Kate, would love it if you would introduce yourself real quick. We probably don't need to stop sharing the slides, but.
Hello, my name is Kate Bonnet, and yes, I'm the education director. I joined Evergreen back in about 2016.
So we're going to get to education a lot more a little later, but it's one of the things, if not the thing, that we are absolutely the most excited about. Kate and her team have been able to do in the last 3 years is just nothing short of remarkable. So that's just some of the paid crew. We have a lot of instructors seasonally as well. Most of those names and faces that you just saw there are super part-time folks. Some are full-time seasonal, and we're looking to have that PM position be our biggest position that we've had, but will still be a full-time seasonal position. Here's the list of instructors from last year. So a huge thanks to all these folks and also our mentors as well. This is the team, and we'll talk about their accomplishments here shortly, but amazing work. So thanks to all of our instructors and mentors, really an amazing group. Okay, so trying to keep it lively here. We're going to talk about some accomplishments from the last year, and we're going to just keep this thing cruising. So hopefully you guys can stop listening to me talk here shortly. So the central chapter of Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance was actually the first chapter, established in 2008, if we all can remember back that far. We currently have 800 and, oh, this is Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong. We'll come back to membership. These numbers have changed a little bit. But as of a couple of months ago, we had 828 members. Last year, we accomplished 2,400 and change volunteer hours, which is actually a lower number than we normally hit. A lot of that having to do with COVID, obviously. Projects that we worked on were Squilchuck State Park in Devil's Gulch, Number 2 Canyon, Sage Hills in the Wenatchee area, Echo Ridge in Chelan, Ski Hill, and Foreign Canyon in Leavenworth. Last year, we were able to open Prepare to Die at Number 2 Canyon, New Trail, and Eye Candy as well, and also Bent Femur at Squilchuck State Park. We're going to talk in depth here in a second about education, but the high level is that we had over 300 students this last year go through the central education program. Just absolutely outstanding. We also hosted our first mountain bike skills classes in Spanish, and we had our first mother and child classes, specific classes just for that combo, which was absolutely amazing. We were also able to, thanks to you all out there in the audience, increase membership by 30% just in the last year. So thank you, thank you, thank you. A little bit, and we're going to get into each section of this a little bit more in depth as we touch on our trail projects for this year. But for this current year, we're going to look at one of the most exciting things in finishing the new uphill trail extension at Ski Hill. That will complete that 20-ish year project. And so we're extremely excited about that. At Number 2 Canyon, obviously the biggest project that we have going, we're going to be looking at working on the new trailhead, installing a ton of trail signage, looking at the gazebo, 3 miles of new trail and access road improvements we'll continue to work on. Just a quick caveat to that, the road improvement of the entire road is not going to be happening this year, but we can maybe touch on that in the questions and answers a little bit more, and Al will touch on it as well. We are going to be starting a pump track for the city of Quincy here. It's actually going to be started in April, it looks like at this point. Very excited to partner with the city of Quincy on that. We'll show you what that is going to look like here a little later tonight. We're also hoping to be able to work on the pump track for the city of Wenatchee at Lincoln Park. We still need to get with the city, finalize things, but we hope to be able to help them accomplish that goal. We may be working at Mission Creek and the East Fork there for a maintenance project with the county. A lot to be determined on that, but that is on the radar. We're going to look at maintenance for Squilchuck. I've got an update on the forest health treatment and how that'll impact the riding season and our projects there. Echo Ridge enhancement show and water bar and Outback. And CDLT will continue with our great partnership with them and ongoing maintenance, and Sage Fest coming up real soon. And Al Murphy will touch on that in just a little bit. So now I'm going to kick it over to Julie to go over the financial overview for us.
All right, thanks, Tony. So for 2022, we have our largest workload ever for the central chapter. And we anticipate an operating budget of over $868,000. So, I mean, this is really exciting for us. You'll see on the right-hand side here that we have our budget broken into 3 categories. The first being our trail projects, the second being our education program, and the third, our general operating costs. Our current list of 9 project sites will total about $695,000 in spend. These primary expenses involve labor, materials, equipment, rental, supplies, and fuel. The second category is the education program, which has a budget of just over $94,000. And this program includes, the costs for this program include paid wages of our 15 instructors, as well as bikes, gear, and supplies that are provided to our kids for these camps. And the last category of almost $80,000 includes our general operating costs. We are an organization that is run largely by volunteers, which is completely amazing, and also minimizes this overhead cost. But we do have expenses such as some paid admin time, accounting and marketing services, insurance, tools, equipment, and storage that are essential for us to run our organization. So that's kind of an outline of our 2022 operating budget. As we just progress, you're probably wondering where the funding is coming from. So let's talk about that. Our trail projects this year are largely and almost entirely funded by various grants and contracts that are currently on the table for those specific work projects. So that income represents about 85% of our overall funding for the year. We also generate income specifically to cover our education program, which includes fees collected for attending our bike camps, as well as corporate sponsorships and grants for underserved kids. And Kate and that committee will talk about more in detail later. And last but not least, we fund our general operating costs through the income received from membership dues, as well as additional donations. So we expect to receive about $40,000 through membership dues alone this year. So again, a huge thank you to everyone who is a member. It really does add up and supports us in a huge way. And the remaining $40,000, which is roughly 5% of our total budget, will be our fundraising goal for 2022. And you'll hear more about that from the fundraising committee. So that wraps up my financial overview.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Julie, for that. And I know everyone that's a real high level glimpse, but hopefully it's new information for you guys and helps put into context financially how we're able to work on the things that we do work on. Going to kick it now over to Yvonne for a fundraising committee update. So we're going to switch into the committee updates portion, and this is really the heart and soul of what we're doing. So each of our committees will talk about some wins from the last year and goals for this coming year. So Yvonne.
Thank you, Tony. So like Tony said, I'm part of the fundraising committee. As you can see on this slide, last year we raised a little over almost 38,000, for the general operation cost. This year, we raised our goal a little higher, and you'll see that on the next slide. Hold on a sec. It's blocked off on mine. So the overall target is $40,000. And we're hoping that, around 2K comes from the kids race that may be happening, I think, in June. And then some of it, as you can see, is, we want to raise from that 40, get 10K for number 2 Canyon. So number 2 Canyon, I've been out there, there's tons of cool trails. There's a lot of trails, 17 miles already built, and we're trying to do another 10 miles. And so that's, where some of this money is going to go to.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Yvonne. Heather, if you want to roll back to that last slide, just really quick. So hopefully all of you have seen, we do have a spring fundraiser ongoing now through the 31st. So reach out if you have any questions about that. But what we're asking of all of you tonight as members, you're already contributing. We would love if you would contribute to this spring fundraiser as well. But more importantly than that, a personal ask of each one of you is to ask 2 friends to donate to the spring fundraiser as well. And together we can crush that goal, and it's going to really help us keep moving the needle on that project. It's an extraordinary project, but it also has extraordinary costs. And so we're going to continue to chip away at that. So thanks,
Good
Yvonne.
point, Tony. I just want to add, I forgot to say that we do have the people involved in the fundraising committee. We have a list of potential donors, but obviously, the more help we can get, the better. So anyway.
Absolutely. So thanks so much for that fundraising update. One of the things that I'm most excited about, and this isn't reflected in these slides, but is that we were able to, during the last year of meeting mostly remote, not having a ton of work parties, is that we were able to reestablish or establish for the first time some great committees. And so Yvonne and Ian and Julie working on the fundraising committee. We're going to go over some other committees as well. But we're very excited. I'm personally very grateful for the teams that we're going to touch on here going forward and what they've been doing, working in committees on these different aspects. So we'll kick it over to Kate for the education.
Thanks, Tony. Just a quick little history about education. Back in 2016, I went to an Evergreen meeting and approached the board and asked them if I could start a central education program. My kids were pretty young, and I feel like kids always ride a lot more when they have their friends around. So I'm like, oh, I'll just start a little program and my kids will want a mountain bike. So that summer I worked with another instructor, and we held 2 4-day camps. Each camp had 8 kids in there. So we had a total of 16 kids that summer. And it was awesome. It was super fun. I probably knew most of the kids because I didn't know how else to get different kids in the program. But if you fast forward 6 seasons, last summer we had 255 kids join the program. We also opened it up to adult clinics. We had 52 adult clinics. We also started working with different groups providing private instruction. And we had 53 students last year with a total of over 360 participants in the program. So within 6 seasons, it grew a lot faster than I could ever imagine. And with that, the instructors grew. Last year, we had 17 instructors, both for kid camps and adult clinics. We also had 9 mentors. And in the instructors, we have 2 native Spanish speaking instructors, which has been awesome. We've been able to, under our chapter first that we completed last year, one of the things that I'm most proud of is that we were able to hold our first clinic in Spanish. So we're just trying to be really inclusive in Evergreen, and to me that was a huge goal of mine. The other thing that we did last year is we had a bilingual mother-child class, and we partnered with Team Naturaleza. It was pretty neat. We provided all the bikes and helmets for all the participants. And I would say at least 80% of them had never been on a mountain bike. One mom, I think she was probably in her 50s, was like, you know what, I'm getting out here and doing it. And it was probably the coolest thing I'd seen. So that was really, really empowering for me as an instructor to see. We also partnershiped with the YMCA and sponsored a week-long camp for their campers. And we hosted the first Evergreen clinic for 55 and older participants at Squilchuck State Park. The other since our second season, one of the big things that we've always done is given the kids some sort of a t-shirt or jersey, and it's super cool. You're out riding bike and you probably have seen these kids, they're wearing their Evergreen shirt. So this year we decided to do a little something different and get these kids involved, and we had a jersey contest. And what they did is they could fill out Ian had produced a sheet that they could just draw on the jersey. And we had 18 submissions. And then once we had all those submissions, we put it on Facebook and people could vote. And we had 115 people vote. And Aubrey was our winner. And Aubrey's actually been to some of our camps too, so it was pretty fun to see. So this summer, all the participants in our camps for the youth camps will be getting one of these jerseys, which is pretty neat. And the last thing I wanted to just touch on was our 2022 education plans and goals. This year we worked with the Evergreen statewide organization, and we received a No Child Left Inside grant. With that grant, we're working with the Pinnacle Prep Charter School in Wenatchee and the Wenatchee High School outdoor program, and also a Wenatchee Elementary School. The Pinnacle Prep and the high school will be working with them during school hours, part of their PE program. And the Wenatchee Elementary School is part of an after-school program. We will be providing the bikes for the kids to use, helmets, all the gear for them. As you can see from this picture, we also now own a trailer, and that was purchased with a donation from Crunch Pack. So it's pretty cool. We have a trailer, we have bikes, we're moving and shaking, which is pretty cool within 6 years. The other thing this year that we are doing for the first time is we're going to host a kids bike race. It will be June 25 at Squilchuck State Park. We're still working on a lot of the details, but I'm hoping by the end of the month we'll have more details out and ready to get the public involved. But mark your calendars because it's happening. I feel like I've tried to do this for multiple years and COVID has shut us down. So this year we are making it happen. I guess I should keep my fingers crossed still, but let's see. Right now we have 16 youth camps scheduled. Unfortunately, well, fortunately, almost all of them are sold out. I think we only have 3 camps with room. I'm hoping that I can get maybe a few more camps added as we hire more instructors. But that's pretty exciting. Most of them sold out within the first couple of weeks. So we definitely have youth here that want to ride, which is super exciting to see. We also have 10 adult clinics that we'll be putting on this summer. 2 adult clinics in Spanish instruction. And the other big thing that we've been really trying to do is work with other organizations with our camps. This year we'll be working with the Wenatchee River Institute, the Rock Climbing Gym, and YMCA again. And the way it usually works is in our valley, it's really hard to mountain bike all day because of the heat. And so what we try to do is we try to do mountain biking instruction in the morning with these kids, and then partner with someone in the afternoon that is a little more, it's not such a hot activity, I guess, heat intensive. So like for the rock climbing gym, the kids will mountain bike at Squilchuck in the morning, and then we bus them down to the rock climbing gym, and then they climb in the afternoon. So that way we can still offer parents a full day camp and still keep the kids safe from the heat. I think that was my last slide. Is that? Yep.
Well, thanks so much, Kate. Heather, if you want to just pop back one slide again. I know that I speak for a lot of the folks on the board and associated that what's going on and what the team and education here at Central are doing is the most exciting thing that we have going on. The growth that we've seen, the impact on the community as far as getting kids out, but also, reaching out and trying to get the entire community out on the trails is just outstanding. And a quick note, Kate, I don't recall if you touched on it, but any funds raised in the education program at Central stay within the education program. And so we continue to look for support. We have amazing partners like CrunchPack and a bunch of other sponsors, and we really thank them for their support. But any money generated within the program itself goes right back into getting more kids and families and folks out on bikes for the first time and developing their skills. And that's always been the way it's been here at Central with the education program, and we have no intention of changing that. So it's a really awesome aspect of what that team is doing. So thank you all the instructors on the call here tonight. So
One last thing,
go
Tony,
ahead.
just to put my little plug in. We're always looking for instructors too, and it's fun to see so many people on this meeting tonight. So if anyone out there is interested in becoming an instructor, please feel free to reach out to me. I can tell you the different, we have instructors working with youth camps. We have instructors working just with adults. There's lots of opportunity if you're interested.
Absolutely. Reach out, let Kate know. Any of us can get you connected on that. But, also just at the Central level, there was something like 2,400 total lessons taught across the state. And when you consider, 1,604 total participants last year. And when you consider that 300 come out of the Central chapter, and when you consider the population of the state, it's really outstanding. The amount of kind of per capita amount of kids and other folks that we have engaged in that program. So again, thank you all. And Stephen, you want to take it off for a membership committee?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. So yeah, membership, all of us together is what is exciting about Evergreen and all the things that we can accomplish through members like you. And so it's pretty cool to see that, yeah, we are the second largest chapter in the state, where our numbers are dynamic. So from that first slide earlier, we are, growing. 856 members was current at the beginning of March. You can see the percentage is pretty cool. 73.2% is our family memberships, which is awesome. Encompassing families and more than one person or individual. We have 126 basic memberships, and then we also have our Team Epic, which is kind of that 500 plus donation range members as well, which is amazing and awesome for those contributions. We've definitely set a goal of trying to reach 1,000 members in our current calendar year of 2022. And to do that, we just want everyone to continue encouraging your friends, family, everyone to join if they haven't already, to support. I want you to, if you're somebody who really is passionate and finds yourself telling others about Evergreen a lot, please consider getting involved in our membership committee, sending us ideas. We love that. We've basically reformed the membership committee recently, and we are full steam ahead trying to brainstorm and find ways to not only bring in new members to the organization, but also to serve you guys, our current members, in new ways, trying to increase our communication, increase our avenues, and keeping you up to date, involved with all the opportunities that we have. So yeah, please just, we encourage you to tell everyone and send us your ideas. I unfortunately didn't get the contact info on the slide, but one good way would be through our Central website. You can just use our contact form and send us a message through there. And that's a great way to get us info, and you can just tag it for membership or any committee or individual board member, and we will get the information to them that way. We are trying to get some info out easier. We've created some cards that you'll see around that have some links on them for membership, easy way to join by scanning a QR code, as well as a quick QR code for donation as well. If someone would like to donate to Evergreen but would rather not join, we're encouraging that as well. So I think that kind of covers it for membership, but thank you to you all, and looking forward to your ideas coming our way.
Thanks so much, Stephen. Just a quick shout out to both Stephen and Andy Kahn, who's not on the call right now, but for kicking back into gear with the membership committee. And Carrie, thank you as well for everything that you've done throughout the years and also currently as well. So I'm very excited to have some super motivated folks kicking that back off. And, hopefully we'll get to that 1,000 member number here really soon, and we'll set a new goal for this year. But we need your help. So let us know how we can help you get the message out. Like I said, biggest thing about this meeting is starting a better chain of communication. And so it takes 2 ways, and reach back out to us. You all have my email because I sent you the link. So that might be the easiest way to just reach out, and then I can get you connected with any of the folks on the screen tonight. So without further ado, let's get into the trail section, the trail committee. So we have subcommittees for our trail committee working on the separate projects. So we're going to talk to each of the leads or primary drivers of these events or of these projects. And we'll start with Mr. Al Murphy, number 2 Canyon.
Well, thank you, Tony. Before I start, Steve, that slide Steve had up there with the picture of all the people standing in front of it, that was a picture taken up number 2 Canyon on one of the days that we had a good work party. That's this picture here. And I want to thank everybody that's been involved with this. This is a project, number 2 Canyon. It's a project that, if you will, I hate to use the cliche, but it takes a village. It takes a whole lot of people to make things happen. And, it's nice to have some leadership out there, but the followership is what the key that makes it happen. The leadership doesn't do a damn thing. It's the followership that does stuff. So thank everybody that's been involved with that. So anyway, next slide, please. Is just a little broad overview, if you will, of number 2 Canyon. Right now, it's a wonderful place to go for a variety of reasons. And I'll get into a little bit of that. But, we've got about 20 miles. In fact, it's interesting. That's not exact. That's a rough number. In fact, I want to look at it from a large scale standpoint. And what we did is we've installed a couple of gates that will help in the long run as far as managing the area and keeping rigs on the road and what have you. And one of the things that we did, I bet you that nobody knows about, is we built a hiker only trail up there. And it's kind of neat. It's a trail that it takes off right from the concrete slab, and it just makes a little nice short loop around there. Pretty easy walking. So I think it's kind of neat. The other thing to point out is we got 4,900 hours, and that's really, really limited because most volunteers don't report their hours. Is that somebody has to steal the hours from them, beat them to get them to report their hours. We appreciate it, but we can use the hours that you put in and let us know what's going in. One of the things that I think is kind of exciting is I'm up there almost every day during the summer. And I'm driving up and down the road with my pickup, if you will, to and from trail construction. And I see people using the road, hiking on the road. And it's our fault. We haven't put up good signs. But what we did, Dave Maybe and myself, put in 55 posts last summer. And we have, through the wonderful help of TRED, we are going to put signs up this year on all those posts out there so that you'll know where you're at and you'll get some directions and you'll find out the difficulty level of those trails. So that's coming, and that will happen this year. We've installed a couple of benches out through there, and here's one that that Matt Lyons and I put in. They're nice little benches out there, and if you look straight out there, you're looking right over the enchantments, and you can reach out and touch them. It's just the number 2 Canyon has got some absolutely scenic areas, and I'll show you a couple more slides here in the middle. We've decommissioned about 7 miles of trail out there that were, if you will, user built and maybe following the fall lines and causing some erosion problems. So we've taken care of that, and we've also put in some parking things and moving on. So yeah, there we go. Is this year we're going to build anywhere from 3 to 6 miles of trail that we hope to get done, depending on where we're at. We'll tie some other trails, a new trail off of Sundance and bring it on down and tie it into Easy Monday. So that'll be a very interesting trail. A couple of wonderful gentlemen have been out there trying to figure out areas that we cannot possibly get an excavator in, but we're fooling them, and we're trying to figure out how to get those trails built. In fact, one of the interesting things, you see this picture here on the side, is if you were out there to measure the distance between those two trees is about 27 inches. It doesn't look like it from that slide, but those guys go out there and they have fun laying out trails that we can't get an excavator through. So some ways we figured out how to fool them and get a trail through there anyway. But it's a lot of fun working with those guys. We're, as Tony talked about, we're going to gravel a portion of the trail so that we can get the toilets up there. We have a toilet coming in this year, so we'll do some improvement of the trail and get that up there, and that will be a lot nicer, and we'll have lots of directional signs up there. So next slide, please. Out into the future is we're going to be building a skills park up at the top of the meadow. Up in that area, we'll have a shelter and a toilet and a picnic area up there. And we got about 5 additional miles to build after we do that. And then what we're going to be doing is in spots like this. This just happens to be on the trail coming down from, it's part of Sundance, as a matter of fact. And it's got lots of great views up through there. So we'll be putting interpretive signs and benches out in strategic locations. And I think that's it. Next slide. Oh, yeah. Here we go. I forgot to mention this is all the different trails. And I don't know if you've ever taken a look at this, but we've got loops everywhere out through. For example, here's a Meadow Loop, Easy Monday Loop, all the way up. You can go on up Double D, coming around Sundance and tying back in the Still. Lots of different loops. And we're going to sign that and make sure that everybody knows about where we're at and how that all fits together. So one last slide, I think. Next. Oh, okay. That's
Hey,
it
Al,
for
real quick, Al, before you move on to Sage Fest.
yes.
Obviously the number 2 Canyon project is the biggest one we have rolling, one of the biggest we've ever done in Evergreen, just period. And obviously, I think we get some of the credit, a lot of the credit for that project, but I want to just take an opportunity to thank all of our partners at the Forest Service and also at the county, because, they put in a massive amount of work to allow us to do what we're doing in partnership with the community. So thanks to all those folks. Not everybody gets to see what y'all put in, but we appreciate it.
Well, I think that's very important to mention, Tony. On number 2 Canyon, we've got at least 12 partners. Don't ask me to list every one of them, but I have a slide on another presentation. We've got a lot of people, and that was my point that I was trying to make earlier. Is we're providing some leadership, but there's a lot of people involved that you don't see and that are really making some stuff happen, and so we're forever grateful for that to happen. So with that, I'm right on time. So now the next thing I wanted to talk about was our Evergreen has a wonderful relationship and a cooperative agreement with the Chelan-Douglas Land Trust. And I kind of serve as the ambassador between the two organizations. But on the 16th, we're going to have, 16th of April, we're going to have what we call our annual Sage Fest, where we try to get out there, have a good time, is going to learn something, you're going to have fun, and it's going to be done safely. And by gosh, we might even accomplish something. But the objective, if you will, in fact, the way I always try to look at this is the objective is those 3 things, and the 4th part is to accomplish something. And if you accomplish the first 3, by gosh, it's always some maintenance gets done, and it's in a fun way. So I think that's the intent of May 16th is to come out and have fun. We're going to have an exotic chef come out and prepare brats and other things. I'm not sure if he's around here yet, but we'll find him somewhere. And we'll have to, in the past, we've imported them from other cities, but it's on the 16th at 9 a.m. If you come out there, we'll try, our objective will to get all the trails up at the excuse me, the Horse Lake Preserve, get all those trails taken care of, and the trail coming up from Maiden Lane, get that all taken care of, and hopefully accomplish that and have a lot of fun doing it. So I want to encourage everybody to come up and have fun doing that and pass the word, get the word out. And we backed it up a little bit, a couple of weeks. That way we don't have to worry so much about losing out on the weather. So with that, I'll turn it back.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Al, for all of that. We're going to kick it over and up to Mr. Paul Willard to cover Echo Ridge. So Paul, if you want to do a quick intro and then talk about what's going on at Echo.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Paul Willard. I'm a volunteer for Evergreen, and I also work on the Chelan Ranger District. So it provides a slightly different type of opportunity to get work done at Echo Ridge, because I manage the work and then I go do the work for free. So at least I'm one of the people that does that. So that's sort of my background in Echo. I've been in the area for about 10 years and pretty involved with this organization since it first started, when the central chapter started to get going. So Echo Ridge has been a pretty big project that we've done up here, and we started it about 2014. Just some more recent highlights in 2020. We finished the trail called Bob's Trail. So Bob Canals is a guy that runs the Mini X for us. He's really a great operator, does a lot of riding in the area. And so we thought we'd name a trail after him. And it's really a fun, super flowy trail. So we finished that in 2020. It's just become super popular and created, tied into some really other good riding and new trails that we built. So great place to check out. And then another project that Evergreen partnered on up here in the valley in 2020 during COVID was down in the Chelan Gorge. And so it was a partnership really between Evergreen, the Lake Chelan Trails Alliance, which is a small organization here, and then the Chelan PUD was the landowner. And we also partnered with the city. And you have to get all these entities involved, like people were talking about before, to make it happen. And so that was about 2.5 miles of trail. And so that's, I think that was the first project that the new Mini X got to work on in 2020. So that was pretty cool. So then last year, you know, we have a smaller group of core people that have done a lot of the work at Echo over the recent years, and we didn't do as much work last year. That's just the way it is. We went out and we rode our mountain bikes a lot, and so that was part of what we did. We did get some upgrades though at some of the trails at Echo, built some berms, some wall rides. So we just started to sort of improve what we had, and that's what we're going to continue to do in 2022. So we actually have we're going to get the Mini X from the Entiat Ranger districts, and so that's worked out well. We've been able to use that, and then have Bob and some folks do a bunch of work. So we're going to continue to sort of buff out some of the trails we have, make them a little more fun. You can see in the photos there's some berms that we built with some kids last year, and yeah, we're just going to spice things up a little bit. So it's not going to be gnarly, but it's going to be flowy and fun. So we'll appeal to a very wide audience, I think. And yeah, and just increase the rider experience up here. And then we have a number of trails we're going to do that on. And then looking a little bit further forward, we still have one little piece out of the 10 miles that we were going to build. We have about a half mile left. It's the hardest part to get to. So we still, and that's called Mallory's Trail. It goes to the highest point in the Echo Ridge area. The peak, people call it Russell's Butte, but we built the trail up to the top of it. There's part of it is a loop with a user created trail, and that's one that we want to decommission part of that user created trail and then build a new piece to make that loop a little more sustainable and a little more fun. So that's what we'll probably do that next year, or maybe the following year. But For now, we're just getting geared up. It's nice to have the excavator. It'll be idling on Monday morning. And so most of our trails are covered in snow right now, but some of the south facing ones are not. And so we just got a little strategic. And so we're going to start there, and we'll get some good work done this year. So that's the Echo Ridge update.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Paul. We didn't touch on it earlier. You might have kind of seen it in the map, but the central chapter, the second largest by membership, one of the largest by area, one of the busiest by projects. And so all the way up to Chelan and Echo Ridge, down obviously to Wenatchee, East Wenatchee, getting into Iniat or Quincy this this summer with the pump track, and then all the way over to Leavenworth. And so it's a large chapter, and we really appreciate all the folks that help us get that done. And Paul, as both an Evergreen and a Forest Service person, making that connection. So thanks, Paul, and your team. We really appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, moving on, we'll have James. Speaking of Leavenworth, we'll have James kick it over to Leavenworth.
How we doing? Yeah, my screen just went blank there, but yeah, we've got a bunch of projects going on for this year that are finally going to complete the long-awaited nut extension there, and hopefully here this summer, as soon as we get all of the annual trail maintenance done while we have moisture in the ground. So that'll be exciting for us to get that buttoned up, as well as that is a big one for us, as this project's been almost a dozen years in the making. As well as we've already started trail maintenance here. I think on the screen here was a photo that Tom Ford and I helped shape the other day. We're just working on lower nut trail, trying to get those trails ready for the melt out. Those trails will probably be opened up, believe it or not, even this weekend. Some of the lower stuff, the nut and upper Rosie Bow, and will be weeks out, as well as the Freund Canyon Loop itself is probably another month and a half out. But the stuff there, Southern Exposure and the lower trails that we do right there out of Ski Hill, Magic Carpet and Fluid, are melting out quickly. So we're excited to get that stuff going. And actually I've got texts going on right now with work parties lining up for Friday again. So pretty cool that we're ready for a big season. And then we're also working on trying to find some funding sources for the biggest one. Our biggest question and our biggest need in Leavenworth is phase 2 or phase 4, however you want to look at it, with more trails in Leavenworth. And obviously the next biggest one for us is to go through the environmental assessment to see if we can start, and to study from the trails, from a lack of a better descriptor, Heidelberger all the way out to Camp 12 Road, 12 miles out the Chumstick Highway. So we want to study all that stuff, and it's part of some original proposals, a trail system that the Forest Service proposed, believe it or not, all the way back in 1987. So we're just trying to dust some of that off, see what we can do about the next phases for that, and go after some environmental stuff to see what that is. Those are some big ticket items, and our club has done very well with historically fundraising for shovel ready projects, but stuff like this is where it's really expensive to come up with cash for projects like that. And we're working with the Chelan Chamber. They're imported, obviously invested on seeing recreational opportunities happen here, as well as the Leavenworth Chamber is really excited to see us do these amazing things. And Tread is obviously trying to find, connect the dots and find open hands to shake that we can kind of get going those next phases. So pretty big stuff here, up here in the Upper Valley, but just glad to see all the stuff that we got going on, and some of the stuff we completed last year too, and the trail work projects in Devil's Gulch, and a lot of moving parts last year. Was great to see.
Excellent. Thanks so much, James. Sorry for the little technical issue there, but Heather's going to take it back over here. We'll continue on. All right, down to Squill Chuck, and Mr. Dave Donnell is going to step in and give the update for Squill Chuck, as Matt Rose is unfortunately not able to be here tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Yeah, and just to reiterate, yeah, Matt has spent a lot of time on this thing, and over the years, we've been able to come up with this series of stacked loops. And when you double up some of the smaller sections between the loops, you can get over 8 miles of trail, excluding anything you getting outside the park going up on the Stemilt property. The latest trail, probably like the last trail we've got here, is the bent femur one. This is a side picture of that. Doesn't look like much, but when you get your bike on it, that's extremely tight, difficult turn to do. And it's an advanced double diamond technical trail we've constructed. Been working on it for 4 years, basically. We've got 7 wooden structures on the thing that climb you up the hill, and then we get into a bunch of rock gardens that we found that were natural. And we just use narrow treads and tight turns, and it's really made for the younger population and stuff like that. We wanted to try to get the kids something that they could really find interesting or a challenge. So pretty much every time you get on that trail, at least with me, it's a question if I'm going to crash on it or not, or touch down and stuff like that. It's a challenge, basically. So that was really nice one to get that kind of a change of trail characteristics up and running on that one. Other things we've done, heavy maintenance on the beginner jump line. We got Mr. Munley down from Leavenworth with his jump skills, and got David Maybe there and a couple other guys. We're able to redo those jumps and space them out more, bigger tabletops on the top, and make a end berm that can catch you and bring you back down. Yeah, next slide. And then where we're at, we do have maintenance issues like this, like we're doing reconstruction right now on portions of a dark forest over the years, places that have been blown out by users. When we originally designed the trail, we wanted to make it a difficult trail, but we ended up finding a lot of everyone rode on it, irrespective of their skill level, and that ended up causing some erosion problems. And so we've been going back there and actually kind of, like you could say, dumbing down, but we're also arming the areas that were the big problems, stuff like that, and making it more sustainable. The other thing we're still ongoing is doing the winter grooming process for the Fat Bike series. We've got a snow dog groomer, and we've got half a dozen operators that we can get there when we have new snow and conditions like that. And we've trained about 3 more this year, and we're always probably going to be training more, but our intent is to be able to continue to groom and make fat biking a sustainable and predictable feature at Squill Chuck. The snow conditions are kind of harder right at the inversion level. Either they're going to be melting or they're going to be freezing, but we're working it out. So yeah, what's left to do? We want to officially connect the bent femur into the overall system. And then we got the heavy maintenance on the big Kahuna jump line that's on the south end or above the beginner jump line. And then we got new drop zones we want to add to the skill park. Mick McLean is leading on that. He's coming up with some pretty good stuff that should be able to match what they've got at the Duthie Skills Park area. And that's what we intend to do is right where you're looking at that picture of the beginner jump line. It's going to be to the right off the other side of those trees is what we're trying to hope for. We can put them there, but if not, we'll still find a place for them. And then basically ongoing maintenance on the trails. The trails are holding up pretty darn good, but there's just areas where we get some user groups that can do some damage on them, and we got to do maintenance on that. And then we're always going to just try to do the annual fat bike grooming scenario. So that's pretty good. And then Tony, you got this
Yep,
discussion
I'll take
here?
this one on, but Heather, if you want to go back just one slide real quick. So Dave, thanks for that update. And, Matt couldn't be here with us tonight, but obviously a huge thank you to Matt and everyone who's helped both him and Dave really put together School Chuck.
Yeah, and Mick, he's the other primary maintenance man on this one too. He's done a lot of good stuff.
So I do also just want to kind of commend Dave and Mick and Connor Barrows and Porter Lumpkins for the efforts that they put in this early winter on the fat biking. We were absolutely dedicated to providing a really consistent quality groom product, and that team was crushing it until the weather just literally crushed us. Ever since January 6th, 29 inches of new snow, the winter just never really recovered. But up to that point, those four gentlemen were doing just an outstanding job, and I was so excited to see them put that down for a full season. But big things to come next year for winter and fat biking at School Chuck, and obviously there's opportunities in the other aspects of our region at Central as well. But I just want to give those guys a shout out because they put a bunch of time in and didn't quite pay out as much as they'd like to. But great, Heather, if you want to move on to the next one. So quick update, I reached out to state parks to just see where we were at. Most of you hopefully are aware that they were working on a forest health treatment. If you rode School Chuck at all in the last year, you saw a lot of marked trees for that on the south and east side of the park. So they obviously did the forest health treatment on the other side of the park a couple years back, and we're working on this one. They were hoping to hit it as soon as the ground froze. For a number of factors, weren't able to accomplish that goal. And so right now they're now targeting fall of this year to begin that treatment. You can see in the map there the rough outline of the state park. Those dotted white lines are the access roads in there, and then that light blue shaded section is the area of the treatment. And so I reached out to the forester, and he shared this update and let me share it out with all of you guys. So there's obviously going to be an impact as far as trail access goes once this project starts. And so we'll just keep you updated as best we can. We've got a great relationship with state parks and with the forester who's leading this project. So we'll try to update you as quick as we can once we know when they're able to start. But whether it's for late fall riding at School Chuck or early winter to midwinter, maybe all winter fat biking access, there's going to be some impacts. But overall, we're extremely excited for them to be able to accomplish this project to help, support a more resilient forest there at School Chuck State Park, because ultimately that's protecting not only our communities, most importantly, but also the trail infrastructure there as well. So while it'll be a little bit of a bummer, I know, for everyone at whatever point we're not able to get on some of those trails, it's going to be great in the long run. And then they're dedicated to keeping as much of the other trails open as possible. So they've been an amazing partner throughout that project at School Chuck. And so thanks to them for letting us give this update tonight. All right, we're going to just bust through a couple of last things. I mean, they're really exciting, so I don't mean to gloss over them, but we're running just a couple minutes long because I like to talk so much, and we really need to get to some questions and answers. So we mentioned some pump track projects. We are going to be starting the Quincy pump track at East Park in April. So our kind of pump track builder, as it were, at the Evergreen statewide level, Sean Lawrence is going to be coming over and leading a crew to build out this pump track at East Park in Quincy. The city of Quincy has been amazing. They are so excited to put this there. It's going to tie into an existing kind of board skate pad. I wouldn't quite call it a skate park. And it'll be replacing kind of a BMX line, not quite a pump track, not quite a BMX track. So an amazing addition for especially kids in Quincy. And so we're going to be reaching out for volunteer help here in the next, it's just going to be a couple weeks before we're working on that project already. So we'll get you more information and better photos. And sorry for the poor photo on the right of the Lincoln Park, Wenatchee Pump Park. It's more than a pump track. It's a pump park. It's kind of a combination of a skate park feel and pump track kind of features. And so we're going to be working with the contractor that the city hired. They're doing a massive overhaul of Lincoln Park in South Wenatchee. And as part of that is going to be this pump park. And so it's going to be located by that small parking lot on Met House Street. There's that flat little section on the southwest corner of the park. And so we're excited to kind of fire that back up. We were hoping to have it done maybe last year, maybe this year. Weren't able to work that out with the city of Wenatchee, but we're excited to see that come to fruition here this year. And we're going to finish off tonight and then just get right into the question and answers after a couple more things with our executive director, Yvonne's been working hard with the Forest Service local district here. And we've been able to tap into a GAOA grant, or Great American Outdoors Act, for up to $50,000 of funding for backcountry trail maintenance in our region here. So this is extremely exciting. The details are not finalized. So this is not what's happening, but it could be what's happening, and definitely what we're going for at this point. But we look to be hiring a full-time seasonal trail maintenance lead this year to execute on this project, to do some great maintenance on some much needed trails like Icicle Ridge and 4th of July, Nason Ridge, Chickaman, and Basalt. So a little bit all over the north end of the central chapter region, but really exciting, obviously kind of a new funding source, and could really pay out huge for our community. So very excited about that, just at the early stages. But again, thank our partners at the Forest Service for working with us on that opportunity. So, and then Heather, is that the last one? Yeah. So I know we just glossed over like some of the most exciting stuff, and within each of the trail projects and with education and membership and all the other things, there's a ton that we can get into tonight. Again, I just want to kind of finish off before we open up to questions and answers for about 20 minutes here by saying thank you, most importantly, to all of you for joining us tonight, and more importantly, for your support as members and everything that you do to make Washington the best place to ride. That is Evergreen's vision. And so I think without further ado, I'll just say thank you to the board, all of our volunteers, all of our paid staff here at Central, for David and Heather and Al for really managing the back end of this meeting tonight. Matt Lyons and Tread, again, for letting us use their office, not just tonight, but every third Wednesday for our board meetings. And also just Tread for all the support they've been able to give us in the last couple of years, especially when it comes to the No. 2 Canyon project. So there's a million more thank yous that we have, all of our partners, but let's get into questions and answers. I think we have two that were in the chat. So let's talk about those really quick. Please unmute and chime in. There's not that many people on the call, and so let's just try to make this happen, but let's be respectful of each other and of the time. And we're gonna start. Nick had a question. Did we talk about that one already? Yeah, let's start with Ray's question here. Ray asked, any thought of working with the city to create some better trails at Saddle Rock? Ray, did you want to speak to that question anymore?
The trails just seem to get steeper the older I get. I don't know if that's the problem. No. But Saddle Rock is our kind of iconic feature of the city, and it's really challenging on a bike to get up there, and it kind of makes a great shoulder season area to ride, and it'd just be nice to be able to have some better, less steep trails that are more better maintained up there, because they get pretty steep either side you ride on. So I know it's the city. I don't know how much Evergreen works with the city, but just had a question about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. We'll kick it over to Al, I think, to answer.
Yeah, I can partially answer that question. We almost started doing that a couple of years ago, Ray, is the Chelan Douglas Land Trust actually has the stewardship responsibility for a lot of that land. And so what we started to do was to reroute a number of the trails, but we ran into a problem with a hazardous waste, okay, because from the old mining operation, that there was a dust and what have you. That is getting taken care of, as you're probably aware of. And once that's taken care of, we will be rerouting trails up to the top of Saddle Rock. So that's already in the plan for the Chelan Douglas Land Trust.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you.
You bet.
Awesome. David, was there any other questions in the chat before we open it up?
Nick also asked about Squilchuck. Will the bridges at the end of Bent Femur be finished, or is that now scrapped?
Yeah, so we're working with state parks on that, and that's kind of that bullet point there of officially tying it in. There's some question about the location on that, so we're working with state parks, but ultimately we just kind of paused on that as we were hoping that they were going to be able to do that forest health treatment this winter. So I think, Dave and I just had a conversation about that yesterday. I think it was Dave, and so we're going to get a game plan for that going forward and making sure that everybody's real happy with where that's located, but also coming up with alternatives just to make sure that we get the trail tied in properly so that we don't create any other erosion issues or folks, completing the trail on their own. Dave, did you have anything to add to that? Great. David, maybe any other questions out of the chat?
That's it.
Awesome. I don't know if Zoom's got the raise your hand function, but if anybody else has a question, you just go ahead and throw it out there. Questions, comments, just open the floor.
You can raise your hand, but you can, down on the bottom, it's got reactions. You can raise your hand right there.
James has got a thumbs up. Is that a hand raise or just a?
Just an observation.
Thank you. All right, there's got to be some kind of questions out there. Mr. Kevin Hall's clapping.
There. Oh, well, I missed the hand raising thing.
Oh, perfect. Go ahead, Kevin.
I'm just curious. I mean, number 2 is the main project, and just where is the road at? And I think my concern, not only is the road very bad, and I park at the end of the pavement a lot of times and ride up, but as far as improvements on that. But my other concern is, I mean, like Squilchuck, you can put thousands of cars up that road every day and parking, no problem. But I'm just wondering how the landowners and whatnot are going to feel once that really starts, getting more people up there with, how's that being addressed?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad we came back to this, and Al can pop in as well. But high level, we're going to be putting in a vault toilet, if that's the correct term, Al, up there, and to do that, as that road is so rough, we're going to need to make the road passable for the machinery that's going to get that infrastructure up there. So the road is going to, by default, get better a little bit this summer. But as far as when we're talking about the actual road improvement, that might still be a couple of years out, but we're working real hard with the Forest Service and the county. They've both received funding for that. Evergreen Central here has raised our own and set aside our own funding as well. So a really true road improvement is coming, but like all good things, it takes longer than you'd like it to. But also, just for perspective, as bad as the road maybe feels like it is, it's historically in the best shape it's ever been. But Al, anything else?
Yeah, I would like to add a couple of things to that. Is this spring we'll be adding about somewhere between 8 and 10 loads of gravel to that road, which will cover from about where the gravel stopped, or where the new house was constructed, on all the way up to where the vault toilet will go in. And so that should take care of the serious issue and be able to get a low clearance vehicle up there without any damage and without any, that is going to be necessary in order for us to get the vault toilet up there. So we're really not doing road improvement. We're doing road maintenance. Okay. And this is almost tongue in cheek, that we're doing road maintenance to get the vault toilet up there. We're also going to have to do some, a little bit of getting some of the brush out of the way. And so we'll improve that also this summer. And so the road should be a lot better from the pavement all the way up. It's a little bit over a quarter of a mile would take care of the really, really bad section. And so we'll have enough gravel, about 4 inches of gravel is going to go on top of that, so we can get the vault toilet up there.
And to your other piece about local residents in the area, Travis Hornby, who's been project manager at number 2 for quite a while, working with Al and Ben and Matt Lyons, he's been in close contact with a lot of those folks, and generally there's been really positive feedback. A lot of folks are excited about it. How individuals feel personally about increased traffic is going to vary, but I think what we can do is be the best stewards of that relationship that we can be. Look at opportunities like trash pickup along the road, and doing things to be, doing those things that we should be doing on public lands anyways, but keep in mind the access. And there's a lot of those types of issues around our community, as kind of the trailhead infrastructure definitely is one of the areas where we could improve drastically. So I don't know if that really answers it, Kevin, but hopefully that addresses that part.
Yeah, I think so. And then just like I said, the road improvement will encourage people to park all the way up. Like I say, I park down, and I don't know if there's been any pushback, parking right there at the end of the pavement, from those couple local houses right there or not. But
yeah, I mean, it's gotten a little bit better than it used to be, but it's something that we got to keep an eye on, but we can only do so much. But Al?
Well, we're coordinating with all of the landowners along that road, letting them know what we're doing, so we're keeping them well informed. I want to tie something back. Kate was talking about the teaching the kids to ride early on. I was a land manager, natural resource manager for my career, and I think it's so important to get kids involved in this, so that we can leave the land in better condition and make it nicer than when we found it. And I think that's a key thing that we need to do to the landowners along there. Make them feel like that we're helping them and being part of what why they live up there, and not discourage them or make it more difficult for them to have their peace and tranquility, if you will. So I think that's real important, and we're working on that in the long run. And I really appreciate what Kate is doing in reference to that. Matt, did you have anything to add to that? You're muted.
Yep.
No, I think you guys covered it really, really well.
Awesome. Thanks for that question, and Al for pitching in. Andrew got his hand up.
Yeah, we're talking parking and stuff, and I want to switch to a different trailhead, going over to Number One Canyon, or I should know the name of the road since I work for Public Works.
Lester?
No, it's the one. It's over. You go up 5th Street, go up Number One Canyon, and it's before you go into the cul-de-sac there to hit the Horse Lake trails from the Number One Canyon side. And I know there's been a lot of parking complaints about that area. Has there been much talk on maybe with Tread and Evergreen about trying to establish dedicated parking area in that area?
I can speak to that a little bit. Is mostly that is Chelan Douglas Land Trust is there's an agreement with the Lester family. That's called the Lester Trailhead there, where it takes off. You go up 5th Street, and then you turn over onto, I don't remember, Julie, what's the name of that street? Is she?
That's where
Sage
Julie,
Hills
you live off
Drive.
that.
Yeah, Sage Hills Drive now, it's Sage View Lane at the very end where the trail starts.
Okay, that's where Julie lives, up in that area. But the idea is eventually to build some type of parking, hopefully out on 5th Street, where there's a little room, because there's not enough room in there at the, that's called the Lester Trailhead, where the trail drops off and goes up the couple of switchbacks. That's what that's called, the Lester Trailhead.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just curious. I know it's a problem. We get a lot of complaints at the county.
Yeah, and that's, there's room is the issue. The same thing as the issue over at the Day Drive Trailhead.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. David, maybe you got your hand up.
Yeah, we just had a question here from Ray Burks, and he wanted to know any update on Trail to Milton Mason.
Yeah, Ray, are you, is there a specific trail that you're kind of referencing, or just that region?
Just the region. I know there was, Matt was talking about, I don't know what sector, 17 or something like that. And with the updates that Stamilt was doing up there, with the potential for access to trails there, maybe to get off of that road up there and onto some trails.
Yeah, I think there's some opportunity at section 17, but those conversations are kind of yet to be had as they're just starting that project with regard to that section. Kind of the general neck of the woods, we don't have a lot of specific plans, really focusing more on number 2 Canyon and some of the other projects more directly in front of us. But on the other side of the ridgeline, Jesse Cunningham's the president of the Kittitas chapter, and he's having some conversations with DNR about a Nanum kind of Squilchuck-ish connector. So there is some trail stuff going on in that neck of the woods, but most of it's in the long-term planning stages still at this point. David?
Yeah, another question here came in. Wondering if wondering if locally we are going to put more focus into harder trails like Prepare to Die.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've taken the approach of kind of building out the foundation for the whole community and not just building those things that we would maybe want to ride. And so we're going to kind of see that come to fruition at number 2 this year. And I'll let Al talk about the trails that we'll be building.
Well, actually, what I was going to do is ask Mr. Lyons to mention some of the trails that we are building this summer are going to be rather challenging, and maybe I should let Matt talk about that.
Perfect.
Okay, so Prepare to Die is the first of 3, and if you look at a map, you would read it left to right, and it would say the first trail would be, "My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die." We just built Prepare to Die first. So all 3 of those trails will start from one location, and all 3 will be Prepare to Die worthy. Those 2 trails, "My name is Inigo Montoya, and you killed my father," are scheduled to be built this summer. And we've got some amazing trail builders that can ride a bike way better than me helping with that project, because there's some stuff that I will never do again, as I am too old and fat. But
I was going to comment on that.
That should help out this year. And then the other one is the trail Al alluded to earlier that will tie in from Sundance back down to Easy Monday. And Al said that we put him in places where he can't get his machine, and I guarantee you we did. So we've got Al bouncing around where he can get to, and then there'll be some hand construction that will be needed, and there could be some jackhammering and some other things across some cliff bands that will definitely give you at least the illusion of Black Diamond in case you were to catch a pedal. So more to come on that, and hopefully we get to that one as well this year. So by the end of this summer, if weather holds and I have fire levels hold and we can get the crews that we need, you should have 3 more Black Diamond, if not double Black Diamond, difficult trails under construction.
That is one of the first trails that I was going to work on this season. And as Matt was talking about, I've walked the trail location, and there's a lot of places in there. Well, I have to take the excavator, I'll build up a ways and then have to take the excavator out and then come way around and then build back from a different direction. So I'll have to walk the excavator quite a bit to get around. And some of the locations are just absolutely dynamite. They are really exciting. And there's some nice slick rock and some pretty interesting areas. They're fairly easy, but they don't allow for mistakes.
Perfect. Well, we are right at the top of the hour here, 8 o'clock. We're not going to shut it off, but I do want to respect everybody's time. Say thank you to all of you for showing up and for everybody that made this possible. I'm willing to keep going here for at least 10 more minutes. We definitely ran about 10 minutes long on the presentation. So, but if anybody on the board or if any of you are going to drop off, thank you so much. But otherwise, we'll continue on. Andrew Bruner has their hand up again.
No, I didn't. That must have been an accident.
Oh, okay. Stephen.
I just wanted to say real quickly, I don't know if any official word has gone out yet, but for everyone to be expecting a Evergreen wide, statewide members survey coming down the pipes in the future. So just be watching for that. We're going to be gathering feedback from a statewide as well as our local chapter. So please be watching for that and encourage everyone and members to be filling that out so we can gather good data about all these conversations.
Thanks so much, Stephen, and Heather, thanks for reminding me. One of the things, to open up the channel of communication is letting you guys know how best to reach us. And honestly, I think that since you all now have my email, as I emailed you the link for this meeting, that's going to probably be the quickest way for me to get you connected to the right spot. And so that's Tony H at evergreenmtb.org. There's other links on our website. So Central has its own CW evergreen.mtb.org. And also our main website, evergreenmtb.org. So we'll get you connected. Probably easiest just to reply to me on that. We definitely want to continue the conversation, but also we know a lot of you are really excited to get back out on the dirt and put some tools out there. And we're really going to be dedicated to making that happen this year for everybody with more work parties and opportunities to volunteer. James popped into the chat wondering where we are at on Stranger. So there's a trail in the Mission Ridge area on private land. And we've been in contact with that private landowner, but have kind of lost contact here in the last couple of months. So we're working to reestablish that to kind of fire that conversation back up. There's been a lot of forest health treatment work in that whole neck of the woods, whether it be on private owned land at Mission Ridge, state parks, Stamilt, the private land that's adjacent to the road up to Mission Ridge. So we're going to continue to try to reach out to that landowner and get that plan together. But really where we're at is just trying to reestablish communication. So no specific plans for this summer, but we would love for that to change in a heartbeat. Any other questions for tonight?
Yeah, I'm a total fan of the backcountry trails, and with that GAOA grant, do you have a sense of like how far $50,000 goes? Like you listed those trails, is that rehab of one trail or potentially more?
So if that were to be the finalized list of trails, that should, with volunteer help and a really concerted effort on our part to get work parties going out there with a paid lead, a paid staff, that should be able to address to a certain degree each of those trails. Now, not necessarily the whole trail, but certain sections. And so we're working with the Forest Service on which trails and which section of those trails. But that would actually go pretty darn far with respect to those listed trails if those were to be the final. and it could, I mean, it could be huge because obviously if you're into that kind of riding, you know that those trails, you know, just a good clearing of the down logs, et cetera, would be a massive improvement in and of itself. So.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for that.
Yeah, well, definitely we'll get the word out on that and hope to see you out there because some of those are gonna, you know, some of those are committed projects for sure. Great question. Any other questions for tonight?
Hi, this is Rick. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So just want to really thank you guys. Been mountain biking since '87, and just Central Washington is an amazing place to live. And grew up in Western Washington. And my question is, the trails get pretty beat up mid-season from that on. A lot of the heavy used trails, Rosie, Freund, Ribbed, and other trails. It'd be nice if, my problem is a lot of times I'm busy the times you're doing stuff. It'd be great if there's a way of adopting a trail and having tools out there so you could jump off with your buddies and say, let's do 300 feet of this trail and let's rake it and get the bumps out and smooth it out. Have you guys ever thought of that?
Yeah, that's we didn't get to touch on that yet tonight because we were running long, but Rick, thanks for that. So I'm pushing really hard, both at the statewide level and our team here to establish some kind of trail maintenance leads. And so that there's folks that we're going to work with and identify within the community to kind of do what you're saying, so that we can get more folks out there, smaller groups on more trails. Especially, you know, maybe not when you're speaking in the middle of the season. There's just not much you can do once it turns to flower, but especially when the maintenance season is in full swing, we're going to need everyone out there annually. And so we're developing a long-term annual maintenance plan for all the trails within the central chapter, but really going to be working with, you know, identifying individuals so that there's just more opportunities. Now, certain projects like at number 2 Canyon, we've had exactly what you're speaking to in the past. And so we're definitely going to be looking at getting, you know, Trail Tuesdays or whatever, you know, Easy Monday is called that for a reason, because exactly what you just described took place. David Maybe and Julie and others on this team were leading work crews just like that. So.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. Anything else for tonight? All right. Well, thanks everybody for a couple extra minutes. Let's not make this the end of the conversation. One, I would love your feedback on just how tonight went. There's already a million things I'd like to do differently and better, and, you know, have some different ideas out there. But any feedback, you can just reply directly to my email. If you need to get connected with education or volunteers, fundraising committee, and we want to help out, go ahead and just shoot me a message and I'll get you connected with the right folks. Otherwise, don't hesitate to reach out going forward. We hope to see you out on the trails riding and working here very soon. But really sincerely, thank you guys for your support, for being here tonight. You know, thank you to all the volunteers and staff and board members. Really appreciate all of you guys. Let's keep making Washington the best place to ride, and let's keep helping our community get out to enjoy more of their community.